what do you actually want from your life? When's the last time that you really thought about it? Maybe you are in the depths of what you thought you wanted to do, but maybe it's time for you to reflect again.
I'm telling you, there's one common denominator, and it's all of them chose in advance what they wanted and then committed to it and then let it pivot along the way.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was Strategy Saturday, number 943, creating sustainable results in your life. Today, for episode number 944, what do you actually want out of your future? So as I said in the latest episode, this is going to be a little bit different because when I go on podcasts, and I'm really going to try to contextually make this land, Alan, I'm sure you can help. But when we go on podcasts, oftentimes we're lifted up to 900 episodes, multiple six-figure business. You guys have a bunch of clients. How do you make money? How do you do so many episodes? We get lifted up every time we go on a podcast, and we're very valued by other podcasters because for the most part, we have what they're playing for. We have the goals that they want. I remember, and the reason I'm saying all that is because I talk about this often on other podcasts, but I haven't said it on ours in a long time. I remember episode number 7 of the Hyperconscious podcast. For those of you who might be newer, that was the name of this show for the first 450 episodes maybe. And I started the Hyperconscious podcast by myself. Alan had a podcast called Conversations Change Lives, and then we came together. I was sitting in my living room. I lived with my buddy Matt at the time, and I was traveling a ton for work. I was burnt out. I just did not want to continue doing what I was doing. And it's interesting because my episodes transition from me saying, I'm really starting to think about doing something different. I have dreams for the first time in my life. And the next episode was, it's really hard to balance your dreams and another job. And this episode number 7, was called Chase Your Effing Dreams. And in this episode, I talked about how my goal in the future was to wake up when I wanted, to podcast with amazing people, to go to the gym when I wanted, to spend time with my friends and my family and my loved ones when I wanted, and really, really to be my own boss, to have my own business. And here we are 900 and however many episodes later, and that is our reality at this point, which is wonderful. But if you're listening to this, and I really want you to think about this, if you're listening to us, you are listening to two people who had a goal, who had a dream, who had a passion that they never stopped chasing, and now we're at the stage that we're at, and we're lucky enough to have you listening. What is that thing for you? What is your episode number 7? I know that it's hard maybe from the perspective of having the belief. I didn't have the belief at the time. I didn't know how it was going to work. I just kept showing up. But I think all of us have that episode 7 moment where we say, look, whatever I'm doing is not what I want to do forever. Wherever I am in life is not where I want to be forever. Where whatever I am using for excuses or the people I'm around, whatever it may be, I try very, very hard to remember that episode 7 because I remember what it was like to feel stuck and trapped, and I don't want to say directionless because I wasn't directionless, and I'm not saying you are if you're out there. I'm just trying to paint a picture of 900 and something episodes ago. I was just like maybe you are right now. Just have the audacity to admit what you really want, because we couldn't do this podcast if we didn't have people like you listening. And eventually, if you start your thing and you get to the point where we are, whatever your thing is, dog shelter, interior design, personal training business, whatever it may be, you're going to have a community of people who are allowing you to do what you want to do every single day. But that'll never happen if you don't start. That'll never happen if you call it quits when something negative happens. And I want this episode to be from a place of gratitude where I was on an interview before, quite literally right before Alan and I recorded our episodes tonight. We're recording these 8:15 on a Friday because we're Jeffing this week. And I said, you have to understand that I sometimes forget how lucky I am. I do. The law of familiarity creeps in and I forget. But there's a insulation company down the street from where Taryn and I live. And sometimes when I'm coming home from the gym, 7:00 in the morning, they're leaving and they're getting ready to go out to a job. And that always gives me the perspective of when you set the goal to have the life you have today, you were getting ready to take off and go do what these people are doing. Maybe these people want to start a podcast. Maybe the person driving that truck has a different goal. Don't forget how bad you wanted it before you had all those things. And obviously, Alan and I we are ambitious because we want to keep getting to the next level, but we're also very grateful for what we have. So grateful ambition. The point that I'm trying to make is we couldn't do what we do if you didn't listen. But you wouldn't listen if we didn't decide that we wanted to do this and take it so seriously and limit our excuses and try to get better every single day. What is episode number 7 for you? Maybe you're afraid to say it out loud. That's okay. I was in the beginning. People laughed at me when I said I was going to be a podcaster. You're not going to be Joe Rogan, all these things. But now we have what we have, and it all starts with you admitting what you actually want. So we talk in depth about habits and fulfillment and relationships and ego. I want this episode to be a flashback to what do you actually want from your life? When's the last time that you really thought about it? Maybe you are in the depths of what you thought you wanted to do, but maybe it's time for you to reflect again. Alan and I reflect all the time. All the time. We're blessed because we have enough content and situations and we get asked questions a lot that force us to reflect. But when's the last time you reflected on where you were in your life? And is that in alignment with where you ultimately want to go? A different episode today, but I was feeling it. I was in my feels when I was coming up with this episode. And I thought, you know what? I don't know that we've ever taken this perspective before, so I want to share it with the community.
Kev, when you and I were giving a speech at Massachusetts Maritime Academy back before COVID, this was like tail end of 2019, I want to say. I remember there was one slide that I pulled up that said, what is one book or movie or TV show or one piece of content that changed your life? And the next slide was an image of the duck pond scene in Good Will Hunting. And I said, for me, I want you to think of that thing, whatever that thing is that changed your life. Movie, book, whatever. And I pulled up the next slide, and it was the duck pond scene in Good Will Hunting. And if you've never seen Good Will Hunting, it's a scene where Robin Williams is talking to Matt Damon's character, and it was something that I had on my MySpace. For you younger listeners, you won't even know what a MySpace is, but Kevin and I, when we were in high school, we had a MySpace. I don't think you did, but I had a MySpace. And this scene was on my MySpace, and I think that was like in the very early days of YouTube, like very, very early. But anyways, or maybe it was just an image of it, I don't know. I said to the whole audience at Massachusetts Maritime, there was like 200 kids there, or maybe 150, something like that. And I said, think of that thing that changed your life. For me, it's Good Will Hunting. That movie changed my perspective and, quite frankly, changed my life. Luckily, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had the courage to chase their dreams. Because if Matt Damon and Ben Affleck didn't have the courage to write that script and direct that movie, my life wouldn't have been changed the way that it has been. So their work, their dream, touched my life in a way that got me to lean more into my dreams, which is now getting hundreds of thousands of people all over the world to lean into their dreams. You see how it proliferates, it expands. It's a magnificent ripple effect that goes so far beyond what we really understand. You know, if I change Kevin's life and Kevin changes hundreds of thousands of lives, and those hundreds of thousands of lives change hundreds of thousands of lives, that's the whole planet. It ripples out. It ripples outward. It's so hard to fathom, but it's so true. If you take 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000, that's 1 billion. So if you change 1,000 lives in your lifetime, and those people change 1,000 lives, and those people change 1,000 lives, that's 1 billion people you've impacted. And so you think, oh, Kevin, some kid from a small town in Massachusetts decides to start a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast, episode 7, Chase Your Effing Dreams. See, you think, oh, that's just some kid with a big dream. I never saw that. I saw someone who could have been Joe Rogan, who could be Joe Rogan, I should say. And when I saw you go to England and, quite frankly, bring your podcast equipment to England, a 50-pound bag, I knew you were committed beyond what I had ever seen. And that's why we partnered up. You had me on your show, I had you on my show. And I think that if people thought this way, they wouldn't see a young kid in his mid-20s who didn't go to college and worked a job he didn't like, who made a lot of money but wasn't fulfilled, starting a podcast. They would see what's really possible. And whoever's listening right now, like, I want you to seriously try to understand something. That is totally possible for you too. Whatever it is for you. Like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are amazing, but they're also just human beings. And Kevin and I, we say this all the time. I've been saying it more. Like, we have interviewed millionaires and billionaires and famous people. And these people all have one thing in common. They are people who had a dream. Some of them, honestly, didn't even have a dream, and they still were that successful. So just understand that if you're listening to this show, like, it's totally possible. That said, heart-driven but no BS, one thing I feel compelled to say here too, anyone can achieve their dream. Not everyone will. And whether this is a testament to Kevin, and that's not what this episode's about, but I want to bring it to what he opened with. Kevin was the one who showed up 944 times. And while anyone could do that, almost no one will. And that is the difference. We don't talk about it enough, but behind the scenes, Kevin and I are like, well, we can't do another episode on consistency because consistency is all we talk about. I was on the phone with a client earlier, and I have so many clients doing peak performance tracking, and I was on the phone with a client who is a dear friend of mine and, quite frankly, was a hero of mine growing up in my early 20s, and a hero of yours as well, Kev. And this person's very famous in the Boston area, and it's so cool. But I said, honestly, you have the skills. You're amazing. You're so good at this thing. The only issue is consistency. That's it. If you inject consistency, I promise you will be successful. And so, to bring it back down to earth here, you're listening or watching this, and you have capabilities, and you have strengths, and you have weaknesses just like we do. But if you set a goal and you actually decide what you want out of life, and you actually decide, even though you maybe don't believe it fully or you have no idea how you're going to get there, just like Kevin, if Kevin didn't have that dream, he wouldn't have tolerated me for this long. Like, honestly. So it's the dream that has to come in advance, and I think this is one of the most misunderstood concepts in the world, but like, whether Kevin believed he would be Joe Rogan or not, he at least wanted to be, and he at least had the audacity to admit that he wanted that lifestyle. And that wanting, that desire, got him to show up to places that he normally wouldn't, got him to chase fears that he normally wouldn't, got him to learn skills that he normally wouldn't. When I met Kevin, he hated sales. Now we have one of the most successful, what I believe to be one of the most successful podcast production companies in the world, and it will only ever get more and more and more successful. I don't think we're at the top tier yet, but I know we're headed that way. Kevin didn't even know how to sell, and now he sells all the time. Kevin didn't know how to podcast. Now he podcasts all the time. Kevin didn't know how to speak in front of people, and now he speaks in front of people all the time. It's just so obvious to me that your dreams are possible. But what I will say, and this will be the last thing I say on this tirade, no, I'm just joking, on this rant here, this monologue, your dream's possible. There's no question. Unless it's something outrageous, and I want to give it, you're not going to beat LeBron James at basketball, you're not going to beat Michael Phelps at swimming, I'm not saying that. unless it's outrageous. And maybe you will, but that's very, very rare, okay? But as long as your dream is within the realm of possibility for you, it is possible, but it will never, ever, ever happen unless you do what Kevin said and decide, I'm going to at least admit it to myself. This is what I want, and I'm going to go figure it out. And then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and try to figure it out again. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to figure it out again. And just keep showing up. Just keep being consistent. Your dream will never happen if you can't be consistent. But it will definitely happen eventually if you can be consistent and persistent. And there's nothing you can't read that in a book. You can't listen to that in a podcast. We can't, and I said this on the team huddle recently, we can't do the work for you. I can teach you how to get in shape, but I can't go to the gym for you. Kevin and I want to see you succeed. We want you to achieve your dreams. We want you to experience what we've experienced, good and bad. But we can't go to the gym for you. We can teach you how to be healthy. We can teach you how to be wealthy. We can teach you how to be in love. We can teach you how to succeed in business and sales. We cannot go to the gym for you. We cannot have tough conversations with your intimate partner for you. We cannot podcast for you. We cannot post on social media for you. We cannot open that business on LegalZoom for you. All we can do is open the door, but you have to walk through it. And we're going to open that door every day. And every day, hopefully, all of you walk through it.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. It's something that I had never been involved with before, any kind of coaching aspect in my life. I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I was hugely skeptical when I signed up, and getting into the group and getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. So I definitely saw the value in that right away, deconstructing your goals and finding out what you need to do to get there. And then laying it out and tracking it every single day. For me, that was huge, and it's something that I saw the value in even after the program was over. So I really enjoyed seeing everybody's growth and watching everybody kind of move in the same direction at the same time. Having that group chat on WhatsApp is hugely beneficial. If you're scared, or if you're struggling, or if you're having a great day, it's just always there. And we were always able to plug into the chat, and we were talking to each other on our weeks off. And I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
Well said. And in the beginning, it's when you first open that door, there is going to be a massive pile of challenges. There will be times where you say, did I make a mistake? What am I doing? This is the last story, and then we'll get out of here because we have to record another episode tonight. I just want you to imagine this. A buddy of mine one day says, you know what? I'm going to get into real estate investing. I'm going to buy a property, and I'm going to live in it. I'm going to rent out the top floor. I'm going to live in the bottom floor, and I'm going to renovate the entire house. And eventually I'll move out, buy my own house, and then I'll rent out that entire thing. And I remember this person and I are very close, and I helped him renovate this home for an entire summer. It was brutal. It was brutal. I worked 7 days a week for like a month and a half. And whether it was, I would drive 7 hours home and we'd go tile the bathroom, whatever it was brutal. It was very challenging. One of my favorite times ever of all time because it was super fulfilling. But there was many conversations of, hey, did I make a giant mistake here? Is this even going to work? Am I going to be able to get a tenant? Am I even going to make any money off of this? Like, is this a career I can actually create and sustain? And there's been iterations of that in the podcast. Anytime you see somebody start something, that is the beauty of this show. And I've been saying this since the beginning. You can go back and watch all the crappy episodes we've done. You can listen to us talk about how we didn't have any clients. Now we do. When you get to see somebody start something, like this person who started their real estate journey, and then you see them 5 years later and they're making multiple six figures every year, you realize that everybody's journey starts with struggle. In the beginning, it's going to be challenging because you're just figuring it out, but you have to first admit what you want. You do. And whatever your episode 7 is, I don't care if you send me a message, send me an audio, send Alan, whatever you got to do to make it real, to get it out there, just start talking about it. I was a podcaster long before we made $100,000 a year podcasting. I was a podcaster long before we had 100,000 downloads, never mind 500,000 or 125 plus countries. It all started with me saying, you know what? I'm a podcaster and I want to find a way to do this full time. And that's the reason I've made the sacrifices I have. Now, again, it's not about me. I just want you to live your goddamn dream life. That's what I want. I won't say effing because I don't want to say that word, but I just want to see you live your best life. And I know that if I didn't chase my dreams, my life would be drastically different. And honestly, you wouldn't have this podcast. If we have impacted your life in any way, shape, or form, that wouldn't have happened. I'm sure there is another podcast you could listen to, but Alan and I are trying to impact at a deep, deep, deep level, and we take a lot of pride in that. And that never would happen if I didn't do what I did and Alan didn't do what he did. Alan, in closing, quickly.
You could sense I had one more thing.
Oh, there's always one more thing.
I'm going to paint this quick picture. It's 9 a.m., 8:37 or so. I remember this like it was yesterday, literally. I'm in my 2008 Subaru, and I just parked my car. I'm coming home from my girlfriend's place, and I park my car, and the birds are chirping, and I'm in Bellingham, Massachusetts, living in an apartment with my mother. And I get a phone call by this person, and I'll keep it anonymous, and I see it, and I'm like, that's interesting. It's a billionaire on the other end. And this is the first time I ever got called by a billionaire. And it's kind of cool to, I think it might be the last time, actually, now that I think about it. Peter Taunton's not there yet, right? Mm-mm. It doesn't matter. The point is, I get on the phone with this billionaire, and I'm talking to him. And he's older, much, much, much older gentleman. And he is going off on all kinds of cool stuff and big visions and big dreams. And I love what you guys are doing at the Hyperconscious podcast. And like, you guys should come over here and do this and XYZ and like all this awesome stuff. I want to mentor you. I want to help you. And this was actually, believe it or not, at the beginning of COVID. And this person made their money in real estate. And so one good example of this person is Staples is a tenant of their complexes, right? So businesses pay this person money to rent out the space of this person owns a lot of land and a lot of properties. And most billionaires in the world have a lot of real estate. Okay, so I'm on the phone with this billionaire, and we talk for like an hour and a half, and I'm sitting here outside an apartment living with my mom at the time. And I'm in, this little parking lot, and this is not that nice of an apartment complex because we sold our home that we grew up in, which was really beautiful on a lake, and we had to downsize quite a bit temporarily. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm sitting there like, okay, this is interesting. And then after we get off the phone, I email him, and he emails me, and he says, Alan, what do you want out of life? What do you want to achieve? Because I've talked to you. I know you're capable. Like, if you don't know what you want first, you're never going to achieve it. And at this point, I already kind of know this person's a big fan of Think and Grow Rich, and the idea that if you really want something, you can achieve it. You just have to commit. And so I'm going to tell our listeners what this person said. This person asked me, what do you want to achieve? And until you get crystal clear on what you want to achieve, you're never going to put all of your mental faculties to work on it. And whether it's Napoleon Hill, or it's Brendan Burchard, or it's Tony Robbins, or it's Marie Forleo, or it's Kevin and I, or it's whoever you look up to in this industry, or whoever has achieved their dreams, they always got clear in advance on what they want, and then they committed to it. And that is the most important thing. And if you don't do that, you're going to always feel a little bit lost. Kevin and I didn't start a podcast and just say, okay, we just want a successful podcast. If that's the case, we already achieved it. We started a podcast and said we want to have the most successful, holistic, self-improvement podcast in history that is heart-driven but no BS and gives people the truth when you pull back the curtain on what it really takes to achieve your dreams. See how specific that is? We're not hoping or wishing or just dream boarding. We're working toward it every single day. And you have to decide what you want, and you have to commit, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes in alignment with who you aspire to be. And whether it's a billionaire who's told me that, or people with $100 million, or some of my mentors that are just multimillionaires, I'm telling you, there's one common denominator, and it's all of them chose in advance what they wanted and then committed to it and then let it pivot along the way. Yes, there's some people who ended up successful that didn't choose in advance, but that's rare, and even those people I've actually found are actually more lost now than they were in the beginning. So that's all Kevin and I are saying is clarity. It's the number one part of our course for a reason. 5 C's: clarity, confidence, community, commitment, and consistency. Clarity is first for a reason. You have to have clarity first. That doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out, but you at least have to pick a target.
Yeah. I had no idea any of this was going to happen in the beginning. So it was just, I want to be a podcaster that helps people. And that was the very beginning. And that was enough to get my toes in the water. And then, I went up to my knee, and then I went up to my waist, then I went up to my chest, and then I dove all the way in and learned how to swim.
And then you got eaten by the sharks.
I get eaten by the sharks.
I'm just joking.
Next Level Nation, as you know, we have a little bit of a giveaway going on. So you can make $100 for 1 minute of your time if you are chosen. So for the entire month of April, if you leave us a review on your platform of choice, screenshot it, send it to Alan, myself, through email, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be, you will be entered into a drawing to win a $100 Amazon gift card. That's all you got to do to enter it. We will choose one lucky winner at the end of April. The deeper part of this is the more reviews we get, the easier it is for us to help more people. When you come across a product on Amazon, you look at the reviews. It's the first thing you do. It's just human behavior. So the more reviews that are positive, the more opportunity we have to help, and we would appreciate your help with that. So we're willing to throw some money your way if you win. Thank you kindly.
I already mentioned it, but if you do not feel like you have clarity, you can reach out to Kevin or myself. We want to help you. But the course that I mentioned is designed with actual worksheets to take you on a step-by-step process to achieving whatever your dream is. That's exactly the process that Kevin and I used. That's the first 5 modules, the first 5 steps of our journey. That is clarity, confidence to do it, community around you that supports you, commitment, and consistency. That last one, consistency, is so important. But it starts with clarity. Download the course. We will put the link in the show notes. It's free. It's a free course. Kevin wanted to charge for it. I said, no, we got to give it away for free. And he's like, no, we give everything away for free. I'm just joking. But download the course. It's free, but it's unbelievably valuable. Do not make the mistake of thinking that something free isn't valuable, because, hey, sometimes the best things in life are free.
I like it. Next Level Nation, tomorrow for episode number 945, making friends with your insecurities. One of the most challenging things I have done, and I'm sure Alan has done throughout this entire process, this journey. As always, this was one of my favorite episodes, just for the record, for the listeners, and for you, Alan. We are grateful for each and every one of you. We could not do this without you. When you reach out, it means the world. When you leave us reviews, when you share our content, it means the world. It's just, again, 2 kids from a small town trying to change the world in their own unique way, and we could not do it without you. At NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We appreciate you being part of the NLU family.
Please reach out.